The field trip nobody wanted. The lights dimmed in lecture hall Theta 9 as Professor Kelvor extended his third and seventh limbs to adjust the hollow projector. Rows of twitching antennae, flickering gill fans, and softly glowing pupils fixed themselves nervously on the display. A rotating hologram of Earth flickered to life at the center of the room. Storms swirled visibly across continents. Flashes of lightning lit up the poles. One of the moonside students made a faint choking sound and passed out. "Welcome," Vor began, "to the final practicum of Xenobiology 406. Hostile ecosystems and anomalous evolution." A soft whimpering noise passed through the class like a breeze through long grass. As per Galactic University's curriculum guidelines, all advanced xenobiology students are required to complete at least one observational field study on a Class X biosphere. This year, our assigned site is Earth. No one applauded. Several limbs shot up. Professor Vor chirped Zra, a mantid-like being with iridescent eyes and chronic anxiety. "With all due respect, Earth is not merely Class X. It's Class X by anomaly. According to galactic records, over 71% of the planet's life forms are inherently predatory or venomous. The rest are either toxic, territorial, or microscopic murderers." "That is accurate," Ver nodded, as if discussing something mundane like nutrient-based shortages. "But this is precisely why it is valuable. No other planet supports sentient life amidst such an ecologically hostile environment. But humans live there," hissed a gelatinous student in the back. "Ow!" "Through persistent trial and error," Vor replied, "and a concerning lack of self-preservation instinct." A soft chuckle rose from the far corner. Daxel Thorne leaned back in his chair, arms folded, wearing the faint smirk that had earned him a reputation across multiple departments as deeply unsettling. The only human in the Galactic University, and probably the only one who thought this field trip sounded fun. "They're not all predators," Daxel offered helpfully. "Some are just confused. Some want to eat you. Others just want to make friends. You learn to tell the difference, eventually." Zra made a faint keening noise and curled tighter into their seat. Professor Vor cleared his throat, through a gill sac that made a wet flapping noise. "Human student Thorne has agreed to act as planetary liaison and behavior interpreter. The observational expedition will be limited to monitored ecological zones and semi-controlled environments. All students will be issued standard hazard suits, linguistic implants, and psychological buffer fields. These measures will likely ensure survival." "Likely," Zra wailed. "Remember," Vers said, raising a limb, "this is science, not comfort." The following planetary cycle was a blur of preparation. Anti-venom packs, trauma kits, climate simulators. Each student was assigned a personal escape drone. Even the transport ship had been retrofitted with a Class 7 impact shell, typically reserved for asteroid mining vessels. When Earth finally came into view, the observation deck fell into silence. The planet spun serenely below them, but it was a serenity betrayed by detail. Firestorms lit the Australian interior. The Pacific Ocean churned with twin hurricanes. A thunderhead the size of a continent roiled over the equator, its lightning arcs visible from orbit. One mountain range appeared to be on fire. "Oh, stars," whispered one of the aquatic students. "They live on that." Daxel appeared behind them, holding a steaming cup of something that smelled like burned tar and fermented bark. "Yeah," he said casually, "and you haven't even seen Florida yet." The drop pod shuddered as it disengaged from the main cruiser. Students yelped, clung to their harnesses, and whispered last rites in dozens of languages. Daxel reclined, feet up, sipping his drink like a tourist. Vor activated the internal comm. "Welcome to Earth. Prepare for atmospheric entry. Brace for mild turbulence. And do not, under any circumstances, remove your helmets without confirmation of safety parameters." A pause, and stay close to the human. If you get lost, the locals may attempt to return you to the zoo. The pod roared into the upper atmosphere, buffeted by shock waves and ion winds. Outside, lightning danced between clouds. Below, the jungle canopy awaited, teeming, vibrant, alive with motion and menace. Inside the pod, 7 alien students silently questioned their life choices. Welcome to the jungle and the desert and the ocean. The moment the pod hatch hissed open, Earth made its introduction. A wave of humid, insect-thick air rolled in. The sounds of the jungle were deafening. Shrieks, growls, buzzing wings, and the distant thunder of something big moving through foliage. Deploy helmets, Professor Vor barked. Atmospheric content, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and traces of, what is that smell? Probably durian, Daxel said cheerfully, hopping out of the pod. Or something decomposing. Could be both. Zra's chitin plates clacked in distress. Is that fungus growing on the trees? Daxel gestured lazily to the towering, moss-draped trees around them. Technically, most of what you're seeing is a constant war between mold, insects, and plant life. Welcome to the Amazon. They hadn't been on the ground 5 minutes before the first student was bitten. A small, vibrantly colored frog leapt onto a feathered student's ankle. By the time Professor Vor reached him, the student's feathers were rigid, their eyes dilated. Paralytic neurotoxin, Vor muttered grimly, administering an antidote. Standard Earth greeting. Daxel knelt beside them. That was a golden dart frog. Cute little death machine. Still not the worst thing out here. As they pushed deeper into the jungle, the alien students moved in a tight formation, hazard suits sealed, and scanning equipment humming constantly. The data pouring in was overwhelming. Spore density, microbial counts, ambient radiation, predator pheromones, all far outside safe norms. They passed a tree covered in bullet ants. Dra stopped in horror. Those are the ones with venom that simulates being set on fire? Daxel nodded. Yeah, the local tribes use them in initiation rituals. Why? To prove they're ready to become adults. Zra looked at him in open disbelief. By suffering? That's the human way, Daxel said with a grin. Day 2, Australian outback. The shift from rainforest to arid desert was achieved via teleshuttle, but the heat hit like a physical blow. Red sand stretched for kilometers, broken only by twisted brush and sun-scorched rocks. This area contains over 200 species of venomous animals, Vor said, reading from his datapad, most of which are classified as lethally aggressive. Some are just grumpy, Daxel corrected, and others just want to crawl on your boots. A student screamed. A snake had slithered near their scanning equipment and coiled lazily around it. The snake yawned. Relax, Daxel said. That one's not lethal unless you step on it twice. The alien's glare could have scorched the sun. Later that afternoon, one of the students accidentally touched a cone snail. Another brushed a plant that oozed acid when disturbed. And during a rest break, a local marsupial, small, fuzzy, and seemingly harmless, attempted to mug them for food. I believe it attempted to use a distraction tactic, Vor observed, as the creature snatched a protein ration. Smart little buggers, Daxel said. We call them quokkas. They're adorable kleptomaniacs. Day 4, Mariana Trench Research Station. The deep-sea descent was done in pressure-adapted suits inside a reinforced submersible. Even so, several students began to experience panic. This depth should be fatal, one whispered, looking out at the abyssal plain. Daxel pressed his face to the glass. Humans have been coming down here for over a century. We dropped robots first, of course. Then we followed. A massive, bioluminescent creature swam past, a thing with too many teeth and not enough eyes. The alien students froze. How do you live here? Asked Zra, voice trembling. We don't. We work here. Marine scientists, engineers. Sometimes we build submarines just to see how deep we can go before they implode. Why? Because it's there, Daxel said, as if that explained everything. By the end of the first Earth week, the students were physically intact but mentally frayed. Their reports were filled with contradictions. Planet should be uninhabitable. Hostile ecosystem exceeds survivability. Sentient apex species exhibits reckless adaptability. During evening briefings, they sat around a small fire under the watchful eyes of the cam drones. Everywhere we've gone, one student murmured, There's something that should kill you. But it doesn't kill the humans, Zra added, voice quiet. They walk through it like it's normal. It is normal, Daxel said. The environment didn't get less dangerous. We just got smarter. Professor Ver looked around the fire at his rattled students. Now you understand. Earth is not simply a death world because of its nature. It is a death world because of how humans live within it. A silence fell. Then Zra asked very softly, "Are there worse places on this planet?" Daxel smiled. "I haven't even shown you Detroit. The real danger is you." Snow was falling in thick, wet sheets as the team stepped out onto the icy pavement of New York City. The city was in the grip of a blizzard. Traffic honked sluggishly through slush. Humans bustled past in heavy coats, scarves, and mittens, yelling into handheld devices or singing aloud with music piped directly into their ears. To the alien students, it was chaos. "Are they dying?" Zra asked, watching a man jog, shirtless through the snow. "Nope," Daxel replied. "He's just working on his cold exposure training. Humans like to test limits. Sometimes we don't even know where they are until something snaps." Vor adjusted his thermal shield and peered at the passers-by. Sub-zero temperatures, wind speeds at discomfort thresholds, urban density nearing hive-level compression, yet no widespread panic. "They do this voluntarily," Daxel said. "This is Tuesday." As they entered a small cafe to observe human social behavior, the group kept their helmets on, Vor insisted. Inside, humans sipped scalding liquids, laughed, argued, read books, and ignored the raging storm outside. One young couple argued over politics. Another group debated which fictional character would win in a fight. Nobody seemed concerned about survival. Zra leaned in, voice low. "It's like they've forgotten they're on a death world." "No," Daxel said, smirking. "They remember. They just don't care anymore." That afternoon, they witnessed their first human crime. While scanning atmospheric composition near a subway entrance, one of the smaller aquatic students was shoved to the ground by a man in a torn coat. He grabbed their analysis unit and sprinted off into the snow. Zra let out a strangled noise. That human attacked them. The alien students panicked, unsure what to do. Daxel ran after the thief without hesitation. He returned 3 minutes later, dragging the man by the collar. The human thief's nose was bleeding. Daxel dropped the analysis unit back into the stunned aquatic student hands. "He'll be fine," Daxel said, waving toward the thief. He just needed encouragement. Violence to counter violence. We're asked, alarmed. "Only enough to establish dominance," Daxel said. "He won't try that again." The aliens didn't know whether to be impressed or horrified. 2 days later, the city was hit by a sudden heat wave. Power grids overloaded. Air conditioning failed. People poured into the streets. Emergency services strained. Some areas broke into riots. Zra watched from a rooftop, utterly still. This planet is designed to kill them. Cold, heat, violence, toxins. Still they build and rebuild. Down below, 2 humans were arguing fiercely. Then one handed the other a bottle of water. They both laughed. Another group had set up a massive grill in the street. Strangers gathered, sharing food and music. "This doesn't make sense," murmured a student. "The stress levels should have triggered population collapse." "It's not that Earth isn't trying to kill them," Vers said, almost to himself. "It's that they've adapted to expect the attempt." He turned to Daxel. "Explain something to me. How can your species tolerate so much contradiction? You swing from chaos to cooperation in minutes. Your cities seem to teeter on collapse, yet they stand. How do you balance it?" Daxel looked out over the cityscape. His face was unreadable. "We don't balance it. We ride the chaos like a wave. Sometimes we fall off, but we always get back up." Vers studied him carefully. "Is that why you survive here?" "No," Daxel said. "That's why we thrive here." That night, during the debrief, the alien students were quiet. They'd faced venomous creatures, crushing ocean depths, and scorching deserts, but none of it had disturbed them as much as what they saw in the city. Because in the city, they saw themselves, reflected darkly. What if they'd grown up in this place? Would they, too, have learned to laugh in the cold or fight with a grin? "The humans didn't overcome the death world," Zra said softly. "They became part of it." Professor Ver nodded. "And Earth somehow made them stronger. Not despite the danger, but because of it. A quiet understanding settled over the group. It wasn't the planet itself that earned Earth its reputation. It was the apex species that called it home. Graduation and revelation. The return to orbit felt like a release from pressure, literal and metaphorical. The alien students sat strapped into the seats of the reentry capsule, their hazard suits dinged, scanners dented, and personal logs overrun with incident flags and survival anomalies. For the first time in weeks, no one spoke. They stared out the viewport at the shrinking blue and green marble below, each student lost in thought. Earth, beautiful, hostile, inexplicable, spun in silence. Professor Vor finally broke it. Initial analysis confirms all students are alive. This alone is statistically remarkable. Well done. A weak cheer fluttered among the group. Zra leaned back, mandibles twitching. I thought we would die on day 1. Then I hoped we would die quickly on day 4. But we didn't. No, Vor agreed. You adapted, just as the humans have. The debrief aboard the orbital research vessel took hours. Each student presented findings, accompanied by holographic footage and biometric data. One showed footage of an octopus unscrewing a jar from the inside. Another shared an encounter with a mother bear defending her cubs with terrifying precision. Yet another presented charts on human dietary resilience, noting they could consume both fermented dairy and volcanic peppers. What's more alarming, said one aquatic student, is that they enjoy doing these things. Daxel stood at the end, waiting patiently, arms folded, posture relaxed. When the last alien sat down, all eyes turned to him. Your turn, Mr. Thorne, Vor said. Daxel stepped forward, tapped his data tablet, and pulled up a short video montage. It was simple, humans in motion, laughing in the rain, running through forests, building towering cities, skydiving, exploring caves, crying at funerals, dancing at weddings, helping each other, fighting, failing, trying again. This, Daxel said, is what you all missed. Zra blinked. What do you mean? You saw Earth as hostile, Daxel said. Because it is. But the humans? We were forged in it, not despite it. That's why we're not just immune to fear. We're fueled by it. He walked slowly in front of the group, tapping the side of his head. Your species study biology and environment. But Earth didn't just shape our bodies. It shaped our minds. Humans didn't conquer the world by being strong. We did it by being relentless, curious, adaptable. When everything wants to kill you, the best way to live is to change constantly, to learn faster than your mistakes. Vor raised a brow ridge. And you believe this is what makes Earth unique? No, Daxel said. I believe this is what makes us dangerous. A chill ran through the room. He continued, quieter now. You think Earth is a death world because of the toxins, the predators, the storms. But those are just the teachers. The real reason is this. Humanity doesn't just survive catastrophe. We grow from it. We build shelters in fire zones. We live near volcanoes. We turn poisons into medicine. We put flags on the moon and then start planning how to colonize Mars before we've even figured out how to get along with each other. Zra swallowed. You mean you're not done? We're never done. There was a long pause. Ver finally spoke, slow and deliberate. This is why Earth is classified as a death world. Not because it kills, but because it creates beings who survive anything. Daxel nodded. Earth isn't a death world because it ends lives. It's a death world because it tests them, pushes them, refines them, until the ones left behind aren't just survivors. He looked directly at the alien students. They're conquerors. The room sat in stunned silence. Then Vor stood. Final grades will be distributed shortly, but I believe none of you will leave this experience unchanged. The alien students nodded, quiet and reflective. Zra turned to Daxel. What happens next for you? Daxel smiled faintly. I'm going home. Then maybe somewhere harder. Harder than Earth? Oh yeah, he grinned. There's always somewhere harder. As the ship arced away from Earth and slipped toward hyperspace, the students stared one last time at the swirling blue planet behind them. They had come expecting to study a world of death. What they found instead was a world that bred unstoppable life. And now they understood.